Welcome back everyone to the ultimate guide to Blender 3D rigging and animation, and this is where we left it off. So now what we need to do is we need to do this with the actual arm bone, and luckily for us, because our arm bone isn't straight, it's really obvious where the elbow is, it's really obvious which way the arm turns. We shouldn't actually have the same problem on here. Fingers crossed, but we might. So let's just see. So we're in pose mode. We're going to go down to click on our arm, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come down and add bone constraint and another inverse kinematic like so. So the target is going to be, of course, the rig again. So I'm going to grab my rig. The bone is going to be the hand controller. So if I put in hand and we've got one that says hand right control, the pole target is going to be, again, the rig. And then the actual bone is going to be the elbow pole right like so. Now you can see that we do have a few problems in that it's moved everything and we really don't want that. So again, we want to put the chain length iterations up. Now let's turn it up to 2 like so. And now we can see that we do have a little bit of a problem. First of all though, let's see if this hand actually moves. So you can see all of the actual arm moves correctly. The only problem we've got is the elbow is not in line. So this elbow is not in line. So let's come back to it. And again, it means we're going to have to mess around with the actual pole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it at minus 90. As I can see there, I just pulled it back. And now if I actually move this, it should move correctly. So no matter where I move this, you can see that elbow is following that actual pole target. So that now is working absolutely fine. Now, again, if you do have problems, just go and do the troubleshooting that we did with the actual knee, just to make sure that your elbow is moving in the correct place. All right, so I'm really happy with how this rig is now. Now, at the moment, our hand, so our hand bone in here, is not actually moving as well. So the problem we'll have is, as we, let's say, rotate this bone, the actual hand bone in there is not actually going to rotate. So we need to actually fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to grab this bone on the inside. So I've just hid that one out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another constraint. And this time it's going to be copy rotation. So we're going to go copy rotation. The target, of course, is going to always be the actual rig. And the actual bone we want to copy is going to be the hand bones control, like so. So now when I move that or rotate it, this hand is actually going to rotate as well. And we can test that out by pressing Alt H now. And when I rotate this, we shouldn't actually see anything because that bone behind there is also rotating now. And the easiest way just to see this in action is if you press Z, go into wireframe, grab this bone now, you'll see as I rotate it, this actual hand bone rotates with it. All right, let's go back to solid mode. And now let's think about putting this over the other side. Now, before we actually move this over the other side, we can actually give this a quick test. So if we come into this main bone here, you'll see that as, which one is it? This one here. You'll see that as I move this bone now, so this torso bone, you'll see that the whole rig moves pretty much with it. So it can actually jump up and down. The hands are moving up and down and everything like that. The problem we have is if I rotate this, so if I rotate this on the X, you will see that all of this rig is actually moving with it. And that's not particularly what I want to do. I want sometimes the hips to move and not the actual chest. I want it to move, in other words, in a more realistic fashion. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I actually press Alt and X, you can see how it's all kind of bending forward. And if you think about when you move your hips, you want to be able to keep your chest kind of in line, so perpendicular, straight down, without bending your hips and your actual chest bending with it. We need a little bit more movement in that. So the way that we're going to do it is we're going to click on our chest. We're going to come over to this little bone icon over here, and we're going to open up relations, and you're just going to turn off inherit rotation. Now, if you come back to your torso bone and you press Alt and X, you'll see now it's actually moving in a lot more of a realistic fashion. So now you'll see that as well, we have the same problem for the actual chest, which if we press Alt and X now, you'll see that all of the rig actually moves, the head moves forwards and backwards, and again, it's not realistic. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the neck, and we're going to come over and turn off inherit rotation. And now when I get my chest and rotate it, you will see that we get a lot more realistic movement on that actual head. The head stays exactly facing forward, which is exactly what we want. So now we can see that if we grab our center part, everything is moving as realistic as possible with this rig. If I press R and X now, you'll see the head stays forward, the chest pulls out, and it moves just in a much more lifelike way. All right, so we're happy with that. So now let's move on. Now, the other thing that you might want to do for your rig is if we come to this bottom bit here and you press Alt and Y, you can see at the moment as we bend this part here, the stomach part, if we bend this the other way, so if I press R and X and bend it forward, it might need a little bit more of a bend to it. So what we can do to actually fix that is we can come over to our little running man here, put this onto B bones, and then what you can do is you can come into this bone, go over to the right hand side, and you'll see that you've got one called bendy bones. And if I turn this up or down, you will see now that because we've got that on, if I rotate this now, can you see how much bend that's actually got now in it? So anywhere where you want a little bit more bend, you might actually want to put that in. So in other words, if I should just show you this now, you can see how much that's actually bending, and it's bending a lot more lifelike way. For instance, if you look at your neck, it has maybe like a few bones in there, which enables it to kind of scrunch around and things like that. With this rig though, at the moment, it's only actually got one bone in there, which is kind of limiting it in some way. So just bear that in mind if you actually want to actually do that. For me, I'm going to put this back onto my octahedral bones. I think I'm happy with that. And you'll see now, because I've put it back on there, that we've still got, you know, the same kind of bend in there. All right. So that's covered pretty much most of the problems you have with the rig, most of the things that you might actually want to, you know, change to make it better and things like that. And I think at this point, if you really want to take this rig a little bit further, you know, putting hand bones in or putting more foot bones in, things like that, then you're able to do that. Now, the last thing we want to do is if we come back to this bottom one on here and I bring this up, if I rotate this, so let's say I put this here and I want to rotate my foot, then I want to do everything from this point. So you can see if I press R and X and rotate this, I'm actually just rotating this. I'm not actually rotating the foot. Now, if I actually copy the rotation on this one of this, that means then that it's easier then to move the foot. So if I put this back to where it was with Alt G, what I want to do is I want to, again, hide this one out of the way, come to my foot, and I'm going to bring in another bone constraint, and this time it's going to be, again, the copy rotation, same as we did with the actual hand. So now I want to copy the rotation of this leg control. So my target is going to be the rig, and the bone is going to be the control. So if I put in control here, leg, right control, and of course it's going to spin it round the wrong way. Exactly the same problem we had before, but we need to fix this in a different way this time. And now what we need to do is just change the target to local space with parent on both of these. So local space with parent. And now when I actually bring this in, so if I press shift spacebar, bring in my move gizmo, and now if I bring this up, bring it out, and now when I rotate this, so R and X, you can see that the foot moves with it, and the knee, more importantly, moves with it. So if I point my leg down, you will see as you push your foot down, your knee kind of tries to push out a little bit, and that is exactly what we're trying to get here. All right, so Alt R, Alt G, let's put it back into place. Now, before we put it over the other side now, all we want to do is we want to come in and change all of these bones. So the main bones, which are the control bones, the root bones, things like that, and change them to undeform. Well, take off deform, because we don't actually want those weighting with the rig, and we also don't want those bones actually doing anything with the rig. So in other words, we want to move this controller here and only move these bones. We don't actually want to have it having, you know, red weight on it or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this first control. I'm going to go over to the right hand side, and you will see if we scroll down here, we've got one that says deform, and we just want to tick that off. We want to tick it off of basically all of these. So this one, this one here, and also not forgetting the hand. So turn it deform off. And I think that's all. Oh, we missed one here, which is this one here. Tick off deform. So I've got that one, no deform, no deform. Okay. And this one, no deform. All right, that's pretty much the check of everything that we need to go through now. Now what we're going to do just before we actually put it onto the other side is, it's so important that you make sure that this R is at the end. So if I come to this now and I go to my bone where I'm naming it, and I just change this now to R hand control dot right, because if we don't do that, what's going to happen is that this then will not actually be duplicated over the other side. So just make sure that this R is not in the center, so you can see it's in here again. So let's just delete that out of the way, and then just put dot R like so. And now pretty much we're ready to put it over the other side. I'm just making sure that all the R's are on the correct side, going down them all. They're not actually there. All right, so now let's go into edit mode. So go into edit mode. I'm going to press 1 on my number pad. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to use the circle select. So I'm going to press C and come over and grab all of the ones on the right hand side. So now I'm going to just go around, making sure I've grabbed them all like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press N, come over to where it says tool. So you shall have a new tool that opened here. Click on the X-axis mirror, and then all you're going to do is right click, symmetrize, and that then is just going to put them over the other side. Now, what you just need to make sure that all of the bones now, so you can see there's 2 bones in here, have all gone over like so. And then the next thing you just want to make sure is that they all are working correctly. So if I just put it in pose mode and then just grab this leg like so, you can see that one's working correctly. All the mesh is actually moving. The actual knee control, for instance, is working correctly. Let's go to the hand and make sure that's working correctly. So you can see that that's working. You can see as well that, you can control this as well. And let's have a look at the elbow. And there we go. Pretty much everything. I'm just going to check this as well, just to make sure that everything's working. And now let's bend this. So R and X. And I'm only doing this check just to make sure that everything works as intended before I actually weight this up. And I think, yeah, that is a really, really nice rig now. All right, so now we've actually done the actual rig. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the right-hand side, and I'm going to, where is it? This one here. I'm going to turn off the names because it's getting a bit confusing with all those names. So your rig, if I double tap the A, should look something like this. So now let's go to object mode. And there we go. And now let's think about weighting this to our actual mesh. Now, I think as the time is getting on here, it's probably better off that we do that on the next lesson. So at the end of this lesson now, you should end up with pretty much the rig done and just waiting to be weighted to the actual robot here. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.